This is a motherboard. It is one of the main components of the computer and the one that pretty much defines what parameters your configuration can have. It's commonly called MOBO or MB on the internet. The motherboard provides a connection between the CPU, the RAM, the storage devices, video and sound card, and all external devices that you plug in. It is a complex PCB with many layers, which contain signal traces from the different slots to the CPU socket. This allows users to build and upgrade the configuration based on their needs. Desktop motherboards are standardized and allow you to replace all the hardware devices and add expansion cards when it's needed. Laptop motherboards, on the other hand, are specifically designed for a concrete model, and upgrade options are often limited. Old laptop motherboards provided the ability to replace your processor, while nowadays the CPU is soldered directly to the board. Also, in newer laptops, RAM is sometimes soldered to the motherboard, so it can be upgraded easily. Nevertheless, future laptops are rumored to bring back the option to upgrade the RAM, utilizing slots like the LPCAMM2. Every motherboard has a chipset. It is usually covered by a heatsink. The chipset functions as a controller between the CPU and the devices that are plugged in the slots. The chipset defines the features of the motherboard, like overclocking options, for example, and the connectivity capabilities, such as the number of PCI Express lanes available, SATA connections, and USB ports. That's why the motherboard name usually includes the chipset it uses. It is connected to the CPU via 4 or 8 lanes of PCI Express. Each CPU generation is often released with a set of specific chipsets, which provide optimal performance and compatibility with that processor line. Older chipsets might support newer generations of CPUs, but only after a BIOS update has been performed. The BIOS is a chip that contains the software of the motherboard, called firmware. It provides low-level control to the hardware parts of the motherboard. So every time you turn on your PC, the BIOS initializes the hardware devices, tests them, and then runs the bootloader. The BIOS of a modern motherboard is actually called UEFI, and it has received some major updates like user-friendly graphical interface, improved resolution, ability to use the mouse, secure boot feature, and many other. But many people still refer to it as a BIOS because it is widely recognized term for the interface used for system settings and hardware initialization. The standard for the physical dimensions of a motherboard is called form factor. The most common motherboard standard sizes that you can find are extended ATX, ATX, micro ATX, and mini ITX, with the first one being the largest and the last one being the smallest. Most full-size PC cases are able to fit any of those sizes, but smaller cases can usually fit only the latter two. For more accurate information, refer to the specification of your PC case. The CPU socket is also standard, no matter who is the manufacturer of the board. Newer sockets have contact pins on them, so you've got to be careful not to bend them if the protective cover has been removed. Motherboards have several types of slots. First are the RAM slots, also called DIMM slots. Motherboards will usually either have 2 or 4 of them. Slots are different for the different generations of DDR RAM, so for example, you cannot fit a DDR5 RAM stick into a DDR4 slot, or vice versa. More slots allow for more memory sticks to be put in, but usually it is harder to achieve higher frequencies with 4 sticks of RAM. Second are the storage interfaces. In a modern motherboards, there are 2 types of them. The SATA ports, which allow you to connect hard drives and SSDs, and M2 slots, which allow you to connect high-speed NVMe SSDs. Usually, the slot that is located closest to the CPU is the one that is directly connected to it and supports the fastest data transfer speeds. Third are the PCI Express slots. These are high-speed interfaces which are designed for expansion cards. Most frequently, they are used for installing a dedicated graphics card. Depending on your needs, you might also install a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth card, sound card, storage expansion cards, and many other. PCI Express slots have different generations, with newer supporting higher speeds than older ones. Also, not all slots are directly connected to the CPU. Usually, the fastest slot is again located near the CPU, but please refer to the manual for more accurate information. To allow the connection of external devices, motherboards come with built-in ports which sit on the rear side of the PC case. That includes USB Type-A and USB Type-C ports, along with RJ45 connector, 3.5mm audio jacks, and integrated graphics connectors like HDMI and DisplayPort. However, if you install a dedicated video card, built-in ports will not be functioning. There are also a variety of connectors and headers on the motherboard. Boards should be powered via the 24-pin ATX connector, which is 20-pin for some older boards. The power supply should also be connected to the CPU power connector with either 4, 8 or 2x8 pins, depending on the motherboard model. The power from that connector is stepped down by the voltage regulator modules, or VRM for short. The VRMs work in parallel, creating the so-called motherboard phases. Each phase consists of inductors, capacitors, and MOSFET transistors. The transistors might be covered with a heatsink on more expensive motherboards. More phases typically mean better power distribution and heat management under heavy loads. There are different number of fan headers on the motherboard, with usually 1 or 2 dedicated for the CPU fans or water pump. The front audio header allows the user to route the 3.5mm audio jacks on the front side of the case. This header should not be mistaken for the system speaker header, which is used to attach a buzzer speaker for diagnostic purposes. There are also different numbers of headers for USB 2 and USB 3 ports, which again can be stick to the front side of the case. The front or system panel header is used to connect the reset and power buttons, as well as the power on LED and the hard drive LED. Some motherboards might also have ARGB or RGB headers, which are used for controlling RGB fans and other LED lights that are attached to the PC case. Last but not least, the motherboard has a coin cell battery, also called the CMOS battery. It is used to supply energy constantly to the CMOS chip, ensuring that your system settings are not reset every time you power down the computer. If you see all date and time on your computer every time you turn it on, then it's time to replace the battery with a new one. By removing the battery for a short period of time, you can force a reset of the BIOS settings to default. In this way, for example, you can fix a motherboard which does not boot after the RAM was upgraded. That's all the basics that you need to know about motherboards. Thank you for watching. Please like the video if you liked it, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel, as I will expand many of the topics mentioned today in other videos. Also, feel free to leave a comment below. See you soon.